Hey guys, Fireblade here, and welcome to another What If. This What If changes how the story goes significantly. The best way I can compare this to is Carthu's What If Super Saiyan 3 didn't exist. So that's what this was going to be. This one is, what if the beta concept stayed? So to bring up the speed, if you don't know what the beta concept is for the Owl House, not only is it with these designed for the characters, mainly Willow, Amity, and Luz, but the original pitch for the Owl House was that Luz was originally going to be sent to hell. That was the original concept for this. It was rejected and came to what it is now. Before I'm gonna do the whole story for the Owl House, I'm gonna wait until season 3 is actually finished. So that's why I'm basically doing this. It's still considered a what if, but not a what if rewrite, because I'm not rewriting the show yet. Basically, this is gonna be like episode 0 or just like the beginning of Celtic Phoenix, a Fixing RWBY series, like part 1, the lore, and part 2, history. This is what this kind of is. We're getting the background before we start in the actual show. So, we're going to get into the background first. Like I said, the original concept, the Boiling Isle was originally going to be hell, or in hell. We are going to keep that. However, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of everyone being demons or dead or whatnot, these are all mortals that was raised in hell. Now granted, yes, they would still have some demonics and whatnot, but at the end of the day, they are mortals. They are living creatures like humans. They're not called mortals, but they're also not called demons or whatnot, or anything resembling like half demons or whatnot. If you have a better name for that, let me know. Ultimately, this doesn't really play into anything. We won't really get to see any other parts of hell outside of the Boiling Isles. As for our characters, we're going to take out Gus. At least Gus is not going to be a main character like he is in the actual show. We're going to stick with the main 3 that we know of for the beta design, Willow, Amity, and Luz. As for their history, it's still ultimately the same as it is in the actual show, just that they're more mature and it's a little bit darker. Not as dark as, people would see it as how they are, like super edgy or whatnot. None of that. We're not going too edgy. If anything, these edginess is more like a mask that they will show. For Amity, her attitude, saying like she doesn't really care or always getting into fights or whatnot, it's just a mask that she has that could basically help her deal with the stress of her mother of being a blight. Willow, honestly, I feel like Willow was just be more of a, I'm gonna let you do your thing, I don't really care, but I won't hesitate to beat the shit out of you if you mess with me. That's basically Willow's deal. Now Luz, however, Luz is actually more complicated. We're actually going to need to get a bit of a backstory for Luz, which, by the way, I'm going to simplify in part 1. So, because again, since it's going to be rewriting the show, we're going to have to start from the very beginning. Everything that we're going to be explaining here will also be revealed in part 1. So technically, you don't need to rewatch this if I upload when I upload part 1. So, yeah, you don't really need to rewatch this. I mean, I would like it if you do, but you don't have to. With Luz, the concept of her being, this bad bitch who won't hesitate to smash someone with her bat, all that again is just a mask. Luz has been a victim of bullying to the point to where she would start to get physically assaulted. Luz would have to learn how to fight back. She ended up getting in trouble for it. However, that did not stop people from picking on her, and since the school wouldn't do anything about it, because again, this is America's school system, they don't do shit, Luz has to fend for herself, which will get Luz into trouble a lot, mainly out of self-defense. The principal and even her mom aren't really liking that Luz is getting into a fight, so instead of being sent to summer camp like she did in the original story, she would basically be sent to like a reformatory camp and whatnot. Luz, after having gone to there, basically just felt like that no matter what she does, she can't be herself. She's going to get picked on. If she tries to defend for herself, she's going to get in trouble. She just feels that she doesn't belong. So Luz ends up just cutting herself off. Luz has gone through a couple of, let's say, bad phases. Has gotten mixed up with a bad crowd, like the gangs and whatnot. She was only a part of it for a couple of months, let's say 3 months. During those 3 months, Luz ended up developing a habit of drinking alcohol. However, because Luz still loves her mother, and she saw how much it was hurting Camellia just for Luz being a part of this bad group, she immediately cut ties off with it. But of course, this group wouldn't let her off so easily, so again, Luz had to get back into fighting. Camila wouldn't have been approval of Luz fighting, but she's just glad that Luz is no longer part of this group. Of course, since Luz has developed a habit of drinking, not to the point where she would consider an alcoholic, Luz had kept this habit a secret until one day when Luz was anxious that her mother was going to catch her, and she ended up having to think that though she wants to keep doing this, she knows that if her mother catches her drinking, it's ultimately going to break her heart again. Ultimately, Luz does end up stopping the habit of drinking alcohol. Granted, she doesn't go full cold turkey, but ultimately all of this is just a mask, a way for her to try to make herself happy, but ultimately it's only temporary. Luz is truly happy when she could be herself, and while it's not to the extent that she would have liked, she can still be herself with her mother, which is why Luz would do anything for Camellia. Luz's true self would still be how she is in canon, just a little more grown up. Luz ended up developing a reputation around town, and that reputation usually tends to lead to people trying to pick fights with her, which ultimately is why Luz can't get rid of this bad girl status. Even though yes, it is more for her self-defense, she doesn't really want this bad girl status. Everything else will still basically stay the same. Again, there will be some differences, but again, we're not going to get into that until we start actually going through the show. We're basically rewriting the events of the show. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say. Fireblade here, and I will see you later at whatever I make. Bye.